Good afternoon. 13 News at 4 starts now with breaking news on the west side.
That's where an IMPD officer was shot earlier this afternoon. It happened near 16th Street and Lafayette Road. Our Ella Rhodes is live at the scene right now. And Ella, can you share what you've learned?
Yeah, so that officer is in stable condition, according to IMPD. And like you said, it started just after 2 p.m. when officers were following a stolen car. That is when a suspect pulled off over into this apartment complex. Now, the scene isn't as active as it once was, but this is where the car pulled over, and that is when an officer was shot. So you can kind of take a look at the video on your screen. This is from earlier when the scene was a bit more active. So we know the officer was shot, and then one of the suspects was also shot. Now, 2 suspects are in custody so far. IMPD tells us they're also now looking for 2 additional suspects. Now, they don't have a description of them at this time. Now, they did say a gun was found at the scene, and I also spoke with a neighbor here. She was just feet away from everything that was going on, and she heard the gunshots.
I've never seen this many police cars at once, and for whatever thing's going on, and then like my children are right here, and this is not the first shooting that's been going on. Like, they just recently had a shooting here not even a month ago, and it's making my nerves even more bad because my children are right here and they see it and they're out here and they can hear it, so I don't like it.
Yeah, and she also told us she thinks she heard around 16 gunshots, and like you heard, she is worried for her children, who she has to explain everything to. Now, IMPD does say they're still looking for 2 additional suspects, and if you know anything, to reach out to IMPD. This is an ongoing investigation, so as we learn more information, we'll be sure to let you know. Live in Indianapolis, Ella Rhodes, 13 News.
Ella, quick question for you. I know White River Parkway West was closed in that area. Is traffic still being kept away from that scene?
Yes, traffic is still being kept away from this area. The road is blocked off, and also on the other side of the street, it is blocked as well. So pay attention to those traffic redirections.
Okay, Ella Rhodes, just west of downtown Indianapolis. Thank you so much. We'll check back in.
Our breaking news coverage continues now from Eskenazi Hospital, downtown Indy.
And that's where the injured officer was taken. Our Samantha Johnson is there now at the hospital. Sam, can you tell us what you learned and what you see?
Well, Felicia and Dustin, again, I do want to emphasize, according to Metro Police, that officer is said to be in stable condition here at Eskenazi. Just to give you some perspective, we are less than 2 miles from that shooting scene just northwest of downtown Indianapolis. I want to show you video from just a few moments ago. What I could tell were at least a dozen police officers, security guards here at Eskenazi, helping to block part of the parking lot close to the emergency department. I can tell you within the last hour or so, this scene here at Eskenazi has really started to quiet down again, as police confirmed to us that officer is said to be in stable condition. As Ella mentioned, we know at least 2 suspects are in custody this afternoon. We understand from Metro Police one of those suspects who was shot was also taken to the hospital. They did not confirm whether or not that person was also brought to Eskenazi Hospital. Certainly one of the questions we'll be asking later this afternoon. We do expect an update from Metro Police within the next hour and a half here at the hospital. Of course, we'll be here, Dustin and Felicia. As soon as we learn more, we'll have that for you here on 13 News.
And Sam, can you give us an idea of what the police presence looks like? We know in times like this, they certainly want to make sure that the hospital is secure. They want to make sure that there are no retaliatory incidents. What are you seeing now in terms of police presence at that hospital?
Yeah, that's right. When we got here just after 2:30 this afternoon, I can tell you the parking lot here behind me close to the emergency department was nearly completely shut down. Officers on both sides restricting that area, getting access into the hospital. Really, since then, though, things have quieted down. The intersection here behind us, the parking lot, back open to normal traffic. So certainly lots of questions still this afternoon, but things seem to be pretty much back to normal here outside the hospital.
Okay, Sam, thank you so much. Sam reporting live at Eskenazi Hospital, where we have learned that officer has been taken to.
So we've learned a lot, but there are still a lot of questions that we are working to answer. And as we learn more about this shooting, we'll update you just as soon as we get them right here on 13 News and on WTHR.com. here on 13 News at 4. All right, to our other big story today, really the eyes of the nation were on Indiana because Washington, D.C. came to the crossroads of America for a major announcement from the EPA.
The Environmental Protection Agency. So that announcement involved a significant reversal on how the U.S. looks at climate change and what contributes to it. 13 News State House reporter Emily Longnecker was actually there for the announcement. Emily, what did you learn?
Well, if this proposal is finalized, the head of the EPA says it will mark the largest deregulatory action in the history of the United States. And it involves getting rid of the limits that are in place right now on how much greenhouse gas can come out of cars, trucks, and factories. And that announcement made this afternoon by the U.S. EPA Administrator, the U.S. Secretary of Energy, and Governor Mike Braun, along with other Indiana leaders, all against the backdrop of truck manufacturer Kenworth of Indianapolis. The limits the EPA is proposing to eliminate came in 2009 as part of something called the endangerment finding. It declared that carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases endanger public health, and it's been the legal basis for all kinds of climate regulations on motor vehicles and power plants under the Clean Air Act. This proposal would roll that back.
As it relates to greenhouse gas emission standards on light duty, medium duty, and heavy duty, it doesn't reset anything. It eliminates everything. This proposed rule is a proposal to eliminate the endangerment finding, to eliminate greenhouse gas standards, all the regulations that came out, including the electric vehicle mandates, all of the greenhouse gas standards for light, medium, and heavy duty.
Environmental groups and Democrats have said repealing the endangerment finding will be difficult. It was put in place 2 years after a 2007 ruling from the United States Supreme Court. That ruling said the EPA has the authority to regulate greenhouse gas emissions as air pollutants under the Clean Act. And the EPA administrator today, he criticized what happened after that Supreme Court ruling, saying an extremely creative and unprecedented spin was put on the Clean Air Act to get all of these regulations that we now see in place about greenhouse gas emissions. Now, coming up tonight at 6, we're going to have reaction from an environmental group and a Democratic lawmaker about today's announcement, and we'll tell you what the EPA says will happen next with this proposal.
Oh, so some heavy hitters and a huge announcement here in Indianapolis.
Right
Why here?
Well, they talked about the history of the automotive industry here in Indiana, also the trucking industry. Both industries have been impacted by the regulations on greenhouse gas emissions. So that's why they wanted to do it against that backdrop.
In the crossroads of America.
There you go. All right, Emily, thank you. We'll see you again at 6 o'clock.
Let's head over to Rob as we continue to navigate this heat wave.
Yeah, and the heat, we are now tied with the warmest day of the year. We're sitting at 93. I have a query out to the Weather Service to see if we just popped up to 94 to make it the hottest day of the year. I'm still waiting to hear back on that, but any way you slice it, look at the temperatures, low to almost mid-90s. It is a hot day. Now, surprisingly, the feels like temperatures aren't quite as hot, and part of what's happened is it's been relatively dry outside because as we've gotten this extreme heat, it's helped to warm the temperatures up, and that's actually helped to dry the atmosphere out just a bit. But there are still some dangerous heat index values out there approaching 105 or perhaps a little bit warmer. I think we're going to hold these temperatures here for the next hour or two before we finally start to see some relief. As we get into the evening, keep in mind the heat advisory is still in play until 8 p.m. for tonight. And temperatures are going to stay pretty mild for tonight. There's not a whole lot showing up on satellite and radar, just a couple of clouds that have developed farther to the south. But overall, it's a lot more blue sky today, which is why the temperatures have been able to warm up. We'll cool down through the 80s, but it may take us through the overnight before we get back into the 70s and expect a very muggy night yet again, 76 for our overnight low temperature. Then looking ahead to tomorrow, we should be able to make it back into the 90s one more time before a chance for rain and showers helps to cool us down. Big changes in the forecast coming looking ahead to the weekend. I'll show you those numbers coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Rob, thank you. This afternoon, a Rush County mother is in jail accused of leaving her kids behind in a fire last month. Kirsten Bowers is charged with neglect resulting in death and 3 other felonies. Her oldest son, David Bowers Jr., died in that fire in Arlington back on June 5th. Her 3 other kids survived. Bowers allegedly told police she tried to save the kids one by one but couldn't get to the last in time. Ahead at 5, you'll hear why investigators learned phone GPS data and surveillance cameras contradicted Bowers' story.
An Indianapolis man is on trial this week for a triple murder at a Lawrence apartment complex in April of last year. Malik Shaw is charged with shooting and killing 19-year-old London Coleman, 19-year-old Aaliyah Wortman, and 27-year-old Spencer Lawson. Their bodies were found in a parking lot in the Jamestown apartment community. The prosecution told the jury this was a setup to execute Lawson. The defense argues the evidence is all circumstantial and no eyewitness can identify Shaw as the shooter. Rich and I will have testimony from the courtroom on 13 News at 5. And a consumer alert tonight about people's credit card information potentially being stolen in Bloomington.
Police say a crook put a skimmer device inside the grocery store. Jenny Runovich shows us the impact.
Well, Blooming Foods Co-op put out an email about the crime, saying the skimmer was put right on a register and it had been there for 15 days.
In the email, the grocery store shared these pictures and says security camera footage showed someone putting the skimming device on Register 3 on June 28th. Skimmers are illegal, attached to the payment machine, and are used to steal data from the magnetic strip on your card to commit fraud. Workers at the store discovered the device on July 12th and removed it right away. Bloomington police now investigating. And the store says it's now enhancing surveillance and inspections of payment terminals. Also, Blooming Foods is warning customers who swipe their card on Register 3 between June 28th and July 12th to watch for suspicious activity. Experts say crooks and credit card skimming technology is constantly evolving.
So typically, it's always a battle between the attackers and the defenders. The defenders are trying to come up with new and enhanced ways of avoiding skimmers to take information, and then the attackers are coming up with new ways to try and bypass the defenses.
Sadly, this kind of crime is common at stores, at gas stations. So tonight at 5:30, we'll tell you about the key steps you can take to avoid becoming a victim. In Bloomington, Jenny Runovich, 13 News.